Hi folks, Dave at FaceTheWind.com Photography, and today I'll be doing a review of the Zhiyun Z1 Rider servo stabilizer for GoPro. I'm going to start off, show you what's in the box. And it's actually worth mentioning that this box is actually pretty nice. It's got nice foam, black foam here, and you can actually use this box to transport the unit around when you're using it. You get 2 lithium-ion batteries along with a lithium-ion battery charger. You get a connector cable, and this is used to power the GoPro from the unit if you need to. You get mounting bracket screws. I'll show you what those are for. Then you get your GoPro screw adapter, which will let you attach this unit to any GoPro mounting device. So I'll start off and I'll load the batteries inside the control unit. You just slip in here like flashlight batteries. Now these batteries will typically go for about 4 hours of continuous runtime from what I've read. And you power up the unit with this switch on the back. It will go through an initialization and start blinking. Now the number of blinks that you get indicates the battery level. So it'll blink from 1 to 4 times. This one's blinking 3 times, indicating my battery's about 3/4 full. So let's talk about the unit itself. The Z1 Rider is a little bit different than other gimbals I've seen in that it's got a separated control handle here from the head. Some of the ones have the head actually mounted to the control handle. What's nice about this design is this is separate and enables you to actually mount it on anything that you want without having to have the handle attached. A quick note about the construction of the gimbal. It's actually fairly high quality. The entire motor housings and these bracket arms, these are all machined aluminum. Now with the head itself, you'll notice that there are wires that connect all the servo motors. These are external wiring, and some of the more expensive models have internal wiring. But basically what I found is that it doesn't really matter to have the wires external. It doesn't affect the performance. So it should be okay. It's not really worth the extra money to get one with internal wiring. The unit also comes with a bracket for holding the GoPro and some mounting screws. These are the longer mounting screws here. These are for the GoPro Hero 1 or 2, but it also comes with some shorter mounting screws, and these would be for the thinner cameras like the GoPro Hero 3 and 4. Now if you want to attach the camera, basically it's very easy. You just slide it in like this. And then you tighten down the screws and you're good to go. It should also be noted that if you happen to have an external screen like this for the Hero 1 or 2, this is going to be just a little bit too big to fit on this gimbal. However, if you have that screen on a Hero 3 or 4, you should be able to do just fine. So you can see here's the unit's standard GoPro mount. You can use this to attach to any of hundreds of GoPro accessories here. Basically, it screws on like any other GoPro accessory would. I'm going to use a standard tripod mount here. However, one thing I'd like to point out is that this all is metal right here, and metal doesn't compress very well, like plastic. So when you attach this thing, you really have to crank it down in order to get it to stay. One way around that might be to actually take a little bit of sandpaper to this area, rough it up so that it actually has some grip when you attach your GoPro accessory. So now I'll show you how the unit works. Fire it up, let it initialize. Alright, so to start off, to initialize, you'll start by holding this button on the left here. And now the camera's ready to go. Now this starts up in the first mode, which is called head following mode. And what that means is that the tilt and the roll will basically be locked in place. As you can see, the camera is staying in position, staying level. But the panning axis is not locked, so that if I turn it slowly, it'll follow that. Okay, this is useful for shots where you don't want the camera to be pointed the same direction all the time, such as if you're on a bicycle following a windy trail. Now the second mode you get to by just pressing the same button again. Now the camera will stay locked in all 3 axes. And now nothing I do will make the camera change orientation. Now, in mode 1 or 2, you can use these other 2 buttons to change the tilt position of the camera. So if I hold down, you can see the camera starts pointing down or up. And it will hold these positions no matter what. This is great for aiming the camera, so you don't have to mess with the mounting. In addition, this unit has a third mode where if you double click this button, now it'll enter the third mode where the tilt axis will follow. You can see it's going up and down as I tilt. But the other two axes will remain the same. In addition, when you're in this mode, the up and down buttons can be used to adjust the tilt or roll of the camera. One cool thing about this gimbal is that the motors on it are fairly strong. It has absolutely no trouble moving these wires around, so they don't offer any kind of drag, which is very nice. In addition, I've heard that you can actually withstand winds up to about 35 miles an hour if you have this thing mounted on an exterior of a vehicle of some kind. So that's also pretty good. This is one of the stronger units out there on the market that I've heard of. It can also handle fairly heavy camera loads because of this strong motors. It can certainly handle the GoPro 2 and 1, and it might even be able to handle a small point-and-shoot camera as well. The only modification that I really needed to make was, you can see these two screws right here. I had to put a little piece of tape over that because sometimes the wire in certain positions, it would catch on them. You can see it's still doing it a little bit on the corner. This isn't severe, maybe I need to add a little more tape, but it doesn't seem to affect the performance very much. One complaint I've heard about this gimbal is that it has to block one of the sides of the cameras, and on the GoPro Hero 3 and 4 this is the side with the Wi-Fi button. So once the camera is actually in the mount, you won't be able to access that button. But it's not exactly that hard to take the camera out. You just slide it out a little bit just so you can get at this button and then slide it back in, and then you don't need to do it again for the entire rest of the shoot. One recommendation I would have is to go to Zhiyun's website and download their free motor calibration utility. When I first got this unit, mine would basically slowly drift to the right. And so once I downloaded the utility and connected it to my computer, it allows you to recalibrate all the motors. And ever since I did that, the camera has stayed rock solid in the same direction over time. You can also mount the gimbal on a monopod like I've got here. This one actually lets me extend it to about 4 feet and lets me get way down close to the ground and then come up for smooth panning shots that are pretty interesting. So I'll show you some examples of video shot this way.